fairly dirty still. So what normally happens is I run the first patch through the 3 times using the bronze brush in between, run this patch through 3 times, and then I'll take a final patch, and it'll be the patch that I start with next time, because I'll only have to run it through once. You'll see how clean this will come through this final time. And then we'll use the Gunzilla as a lube and we're finished. So you can see my patch is getting cleaner and cleaner. And I'm keeping the barrel wet with Gunzilla this whole time. Now, you don't need to have that much Gunzilla in there, which is why the last patch I'll run through dry. See, this time the swab is reasonably clean. So I'll take this last patch dry, as we saw with what happened with the Q-tips. There will be a nice residue protection of oil, if you will, on the inside. Gunzilla is a CLP, so we don't necessarily have to lube. So reasonably clean enough for me for the next firing. So I'll just give this a quick wipe down with the paper towel, make sure all the powder residue that would be in the Gunzilla on the outside of the barrel from the last time is gone. And now we're ready to use Gunzilla as a lube. And I like to start with my frame. Oh, I've got a little bit on the outside there. And the first place you're going to put a small squirt is right in there at the end of the connector bar there, trigger bar, the connector meat. Just put like just barely squirt it in there, and I work mine back and forth. Be sure if you're going to operate your trigger and trigger bar without the slide on that you keep that little safety button pressed. Otherwise it'll lock forward, and if you try to pull that back, you're definitely going to damage one or more of the safeties. So if you hold that down, you can just move it back and forth without, and of course that makes sure that the lubricant covers that connector and trigger bar nicely. And I'll use a Q-tip to daub up any excess here. So, frame is done. Onto the slide. Same Q-tip. We're going to put a dot at the top of the slide. Now the 34 has a cutout at the top to keep the slide weight down. So you would have solid area there, but for lubrication purposes, we still lube the top. So I just spread that around with the Q-tip. Make sure that's nice and shiny. And the last part on the slide that gets lubed is the slide rails. Take a paper towel here to absorb the excess. So I take the Gunzilla and just put a nice squirt inside the rail guide here. And you'll be able to see it. I tilt it all the way down till it just hits the end there. And I kind of move it back and forth a little bit here. Make sure it's nice in there, and then I let that end drip down the paper towel. And you'll see in just a minute, I mean that doesn't seem like that's very much oil, but you'll see in just a minute the oil is going to get all over everything. So do it on the other side as well. Oh, I got missed already. Alright, that's the slide, lubed and ready to go. Now the barrel, the hood of the barrel is what rubs against, or I'm sorry, the barrel hood on the slide is what rubs against the outside of the barrel, and therefore that needs to be lubed. So take a Q-tip here, one I've been using, make it nice and wet there, and just rub that. You can't see it, of course. Once again, wax on, wax off, because this is too much oil. Really, Glocks kind of hate oil. Some people have experienced their Glocks running better dry than oiled. So I'll get as much of that off as I can, maybe and rub it in a little bit better with my finger, and start to assemble the firearm. Now, we are clean and assembled, but to work that action a little bit here, so worked it, locked the slide forward here. Under here you'll see that you pooled a little bit, that the oil is splashed in around there, and we're going to take another Q-tip and just soak that up just so it doesn't collect powder residue and things there. And finally, that last paper towel, rub any of the Gunzilla off the firearm. Don't want these slippery in your hands, so be sure to get all of that off. Double check the magazine well, make sure all the residue is out of there. And that's how I clean my Glock 34 with Gunzilla.